Deport African Americans. I'm doing this video because I had Michael Jackson come to Jamaica in 1975 and do a big concert. The Jackson 5 came and did a big concert. And they were Jehovah's Witnesses at the time, and so they looked so human at the airport. Our airport is small. They were sitting on the bench like 1 o'clock in the morning. They looked so human and were at the concert and everything. So it helped me to stick with the Jehovah's for 30 years. And Michael Jackson was African American, so I married an African American Jehovah's Witness. But Lucifer ultimately took him from me. So this video is for ICIA, the White House, Trump Organization, the reporters, the press, the P27 international human rights organizations all over the world. I don't know. I just keep talking because Meghan Markle said, tell the right people. I'm not sure who the right people are. But I feel like people are not taking the issue seriously. So Africa is ready. President Ibrahim Traore, Abraham like Abraham, a leader of Africa. Maybe the Africans won't assassinate him like they assassinated President Sankara was doing a similar effort. He was killed by his people 1987. And of course, Africa has a paradigm of assassinated presidents. They sell out each other and betray each other. And the African Americans have a lot of betrayal in their culture too. So this is Africa and the Sahel trying to develop their own confederal bank. So they'll have more schools, university, energy, military, agriculture, and housing. So we have to handle the responsibility because they were brought here as slaves. And we have a lot of very smart Africans, doctors and professors who are speaking up at this time. So there was a sign of a coup d'etat at the time of Obama's presidency. Well, I was working for the city of Delaware Beach and I had a good 5-year written evaluation. And I was trained by two attorneys who did not know that in the summer when I was 17 and in the summer when I was 18, I worked for the government of Jamaica. And they did not know that I also worked for the European Union, which I saw public servants for the first time because they were using euros to help small business all over the world. They were moving tranches of money, and I was doing the minutes of meeting. And those Europeans did not act like they owned the money at all. They were real public servants. So although I didn't study public administration at Florida Atlantic University, I studied business, I was able to see what real public service is. But right now I experience African Americans hijacking state money, municipal money, like sitting at my desk and not doing the work, and hijacking food stamp money, hijacking USAID money, which President Trump was able to see. And they're hijacking social security funds in many ways. And I know that Africa was looted, but we shouldn't really reciprocate by stealing money in government in the United States. So I'm seeing what African Americans are permitted to do and looking at the permission structure. And I saw how in the O.J. Simpson case, which was on TV, this white woman was killed and nobody convicted. And then I extracted a screenshot of Dick Cheney and his daughter. They're both senators. They're speaking about a permission structure. And I don't know if there's a written permission structure or a clear permission structure or an underlying permission structure, which allows a lot of misogyny and some of the things that happened to me. So here's Donald Trump. He has a robot dog at Mar-a-Lago, and FAU has two robots, a robot dog and an administrative robot at FAU. So Donald Trump did 194 tariffs in 194 countries. He did 31 deportations in 31 countries, and he did military presence in different countries. And then he made all these countries mad, and then he made friends with Japan, and Japan has the Toyota Ponyo robots and other really great technology. So President Obama is not every African American. I had a stalker I woke up and there's a stalker coming to get my stuff. Of course, they pushed me out of government and I had a house in a condo and they took my condo, etc. And I hear that this is a way to deport a person, to kill her two sons, push her out of government, to damage their kitchen, violate my Fourth Amendment rights, to take my car back to back, tow my car, bully me at work, and interfere with my work, and as Jamaicans say, rough me up. So we have to handle the responsibility, and I don't think that African Americans should take over the country because Africa obviously betrayed the 54 countries of Africa and impoverished the 54 countries of Africa. So why would you hand them USA? But I saw the coup d'etat. I had an African American state trooper who turned off the power at my house so that the alarm would go off and damage my kitchen. He also damaged my car. My friends from Walgreens came and repaired the car. My family were witnesses. They were back and forth from Washington, Canada, New York. I have two sisters in the UK, and my family is all over. So we're asunder, so we can't generate that kind of synergy as we did when we were in Jamaica. But because they were coming back and forth, they are witnesses to some of the things they did to me. So my story is on YouTube. And most of all, my son, I love my little tyke more and more the longer he is in the grave. So I work 2 government jobs in the USA and I work 4 government jobs in all. I lived it, I saw it, I tell it. I also had a federal job. I took a test and 4 years later they called me, but my ex-husband decided because he was working with Florida Pond Light that we should come up and take care of our babies in West Point Beach instead of me working a federal job. So Monday, December 30, 2024, a state trooper checked my driver's license and he said no prior calls. And he was indicating that the violation of my Fourth Amendment rights and the pictures which I sent to the FBI of the damage in my house are either a coup d'etat and or off the computer. It's definitely off the computer because he said no prior calls. But being a part of a coup d'etat, internal and external coup d'etat, one like in the time of Napoleon, not exactly, but the Republicans say they are having a soft coup d'etat. So if we have robot police like this, it will reduce conflict, fatigue, errors, population, cost, trouble, sick days, African American police gangs, misogyny, prejudice, and police doing things off the computer. So this is a robot that can carry garbage. So African Americans have done a lot of physical work. First I did slavery. Now as I came down 20th Street to FAU, I see a lot of the African Americans working for the city doing landscaping and things like that and the garbage people. But robots can do all of this. So I have a lot of complaints about everything about my interactions with African Americans. They really don't like Jamaicans and they particularly don't like me. So, first of all, when the Jackson 5 came to Jamaica, the Jamaican dollar was higher than the US dollar. 1 Jamaican dollar was equal to 2 US dollar when I was coming here shopping when I was in high school. I know because I used to exchange the money and go into Learner store and buy girls' clothes. Anyway, so here's my argument for deporting African Americans. Historically, Africans are cursed as Canaan is the son of Ham, and Canaan and Ham were cursed because they teased Noah about his nudity. Nilotic unrestrained ritual culture of Kenya, Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, Uganda, and South Sudan. Now, Nilotic means countries of the Nile. Countries of the Nile, which are the list which I just named, they have ritual behavior. And I was working in the Winfield Plaza, which is owned by Investments Limited, and I saw Nilotic unrestrained ritual robbery, repeated robbery inside of that place, and repeated vandalism, destruction of machines and things like that. I noticed Nilotic unrestrained ritual misogyny, creating hoochie mamas and a lot of misogyny and things that happen against me being bullied a lot and ridiculed a lot. So President Obama gave everybody these free phones. I've had a few phones stolen, and I had to create some acronyms because what happened was my ex-husband didn't go to divorce court, so my son was not able to tell a judge that he's in the gifted program. And since 6 years old, he needs to stay in his school, he needs to stay in his house, etc. And I've been working since I'm 17. And when I was 17 in the summer, I worked for the government of Jamaica. When I was 18 in the summer, I worked for the government of Jamaica. But the Jehovah's Witnesses didn't know that. My ex-husband didn't know that. And the city of Delray Beach didn't know that. So African Americans being 14.9% of the population of the USA, how have they effectively been able to stalk me, take everything away from me, push me out of government, abuse and kill my children, and bring me to the point where I'm doing this YouTube video and trying to go into an international court? Here's another complaint. They have thuggish, loud, bullying, savage conduct and communication, and they call around and they even have white people repeating their ridicule. I feel that they have low IQ and they're thinking that discussion and bullying, they think that people will really accept you abusing a stranger. A lot of strangers are talking about me, saying, using ridicule, which Hal Draper, anthropologist, said hunter gatherers do. But I even went to work in Jupiter and I in a Dunkin' Donuts in the morning and then work online in the evening. And I was going through that bullying and abuse all the way up in Jupiter. So they're calling around, and it's only 14.9% of the population are African Americans. But I know Florida has a little higher percentage. So they have innate betrayal symptoms in Africa, so that they killed a President Sankara in 1987, and they will destroy their own country, Africa. And they are destroying USA by stealing food stamp money, social security money, stalking people and robbing people of their jobs. They practice the art of degrading women in word and music. And we have pictures of Kanye West and his wife having oral sex. And she's almost nude. A coup d'etat and bragging, saying, we are the government and we are replacing you. I applied for a job in Broward County because I said, I'm having a hard time. Let me go to a Jamaican city, which is Lauderhill or Lauderdale Lakes. So somebody called me about a job. An African American police called me and said, we are the government. Now, the thing about that is that the European Union, when they were sending tranches of money and I did the minutes, those men did not take that kind of ownership, kind of battle cry. We are the government. So I have my free phone service cut on and off, and I had Nigerians doing something to me. I guess it's Nigerian financial terrorism for 4 years. They did introduce me to Bitcoin, and I was reading white papers and summarizing white papers. But at the same time, they did send me a counterfeit check lately. I think Africans do not like themselves, and African Americans do not like themselves. And as soon as African Americans get money like Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan, they get a white person to have them a white child or a light child or something. It's impossible to unite Africa, and I work with Africa every day, and I tell them 3 to 5 words of comprehension is progress. I tell them, you can do this, you can take your gold, you can take your country, you can manage your country, you can govern your country. Just work together. But they really do not like themselves. China prepared some infrastructure by replacing the IMF on many African projects. Robots do work better than African Americans. African Americans have to take the time to try to ruin your self-esteem whenever they see you, because they tell each other, oh, we beat that girl up, we killed her children, we took her out of our government job, we pushed her, whatever thing, we ran her into the ground. They tell each other that. And so I guess they feel like it's a sport where they are successful. We have African American police gangs. I've been attacked by the African American state trooper who was in my house and took my car and everything. And then we have the African American sheriff who also gave my things to the thief and arrested me. So I contacted FBI and the CIA. And the African Americans are pushing others out of banks And I think Financial Credit Union, they took $25 out of my account and closed it. And I think that some white people in banking are knowing this, but I contacted some banking official and spoke about the coup d'etat and certain other things that's happening. Because you really can't have African Americans take over this country because they ruined Africa already. So the Nigerians are also opening credit cards in American names, and they took over my Fidelity investment account, which I got from working at Walgreens for 5 years. Finally, trying what Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara was assassinated in 1987. They're trying to assassinate President Ibrahim Traore. And it seems like for 65 years, Africa was blocked, and the 55 countries could not unite enough to unblock it or save their country. Sex and money are more important than human rights and safety of women and children. When they bullied me out of my job at the city of Delray Reach, up to 8 years later, residents come down to my other job in Boca and said they could not do the work of code enforcement. African Americans stalk me and rob me and want to use me. I had an African American stalker right where I am. I guess the African American bus driver told him where I got off the bus, so he was there by my stuff. I've taken pictures of them. So they're violating my human rights and my civil rights. And I was in Broward trying to go to a Jamaican city, Lauderhill or Lauderdale Lakes, and I was almost framed for grand theft auto. That means I must know at what stage of the running me into the ground they're at. So in Broward, the police know how far down I've been running to the ground, so that he put a car out to see if I'd grab it and get charged with grand theft auto because they'd like to put me in prison. Okay, so they're bragging about domination and degrading another person. Their value system is based on deception and betrayal and a barbaric taste level. African Americans hate Caribbean islanders because Cambridge University manager our high schools. African Americans, though, will rob and use people from the Caribbean. They are permitted by whites to execute the Holocaust paradigm on Caribbean islanders, which they practice in Africa, not allowing children to go to school for 2 years and having children live in caves and not eating for 4 days. Every 4 days they get a little food. So other stalker Saturday, March 15, 2025, woke us up at 6:28. They have all over the United States. I know it's only less than 20% of the population is African Americans, but they think I'm some kind of sport or game. I also had a stalker Tuesday, March 18, 2025, taunting me at 10:30 a.m. And we have the local community stalkers with Obama free phones. So it seems that the Africans lost all good characteristics as slaves of white Americans and then been bullied by white Americans in the rat race. And I think that's why they betray people from the Caribbean so much. President Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso and Dr. Arikana Shirimborikwa invited African Americans back to Africa. Nigerians are online doing financial frauds and financial terrorism, and they're helping Obama. Obama's father is Nigerian, and they're helping the African Americans. Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy needed to look at African Americans now stealing and not doing any work in food stamps, Social Security, and government, municipal and state. In Trump's county, Palm Beach County, they need to see what they're doing. I went up to code enforcement to see who is up there working because I was trained by two attorneys and I've been in government since I'm 17. So I say, deport African Americans. Africans' value system is based on betrayal, like President Sankara killed by his friend Kampore in 1987 for $5 million. Africans are savage, and that is why the presidents get killed so much. It's a paradigm now. If it goes unchecked, it will take control of the USA also. They'll take control of the government, the banks, and necessary functions of the nation. And so you need to deport the African American because that's what they're trying to do. They have stalking systems, tracking, and once they run you into the ground, they try to make sure you never rise back up again. And I don't, that's violating my human rights. And I've contacted 27 international human rights organizations. And Meghan Markle said, tell someone and tell the right people. So I tell everybody, and some of them will be the right people. So this girl, I used to work with her at a small company in Delray, but I work one, two, three, four jobs at one time. So 5:30 a.m. Thursday, February 20, she was stalking me and she yelled, and she even tell people that I stole her phone or something like that. I don't do that because I keep working. I volunteer also. I'm a global business mentor, and I use the AI. And October 25, 2024, 5, about 9:30 a.m., these young men said when we fall out, they will put us in rehab. This one used to work for the city and he had a townhouse. He had to sell it because he's running. You know, when you run out of the city, you don't have any way to pay your mortgage. So he's going in the swivel door of the failed ecosystem of drug rehabs. I live in fear in Boca Raton, exposed to robberies and stalkings of African Americans in this failed ecosystem. I told the director I do not want the drug dealer and his friend and the robber to find me where I live. So this is a girl who bullied me out of the city of Delray Beach. Her husband is a state registered sex offender, and she ridiculed me about my husband with secondhand information. Her sister is the office manager of my ex-husband's attorney. So she ruined my career, and her husband's a state registered sex offender, and my ex-husband is also a misogynist. So I went to the Delray Beach Christmas party last night, so I won't say anything about the homos in Delray. So Africa was selling itself out to imperialists, and Dr. Arikana started to speak out about reparations. She said reparations are due because the IMF was charging the United States 1.9% interest rate and charging Africa 9 to 20% interest rate, and the Caribbean. They have created debt in countries all over the world. And when there's nothing in those countries, the people come here and get deported. So the value system, bullying, abuse, sex, music, sports, and mythology, we don't want this in the future generations. Now, this is an example of the value system of misogyny for public view. I feel that facial mutilation is an example of destroying a person's identity. And I saw this facial mutilation in O.J. Simpson's wife. Now, the slash to the neck is what killed her, but they had to do the fatal mutilation. And also Rihanna from Barbados, she also had the facial mutilation by Chris Brown. So I saw this pattern, and I've been trying to talk to UN Women and international human rights organizations too, of course. But I have five sisters, so I'm researching this as much as I can. So in Africa in 1994, in Rwanda, there a million people were killed in 100 days. They were using mostly machetes. You see the cuts on this guy? He's a survivor. Can you imagine what this is like? I think possibly because they did the financial manipulations of interest rate and tried to further defeat Africa. I think that's why that genocide occurred. Just kill off a lot of people. And then we had the COVID genocide. But this is how it was. There is white men, white military from other countries are helping these people go ahead and kill 1 million people in 100 days. Isn't that amazing? Yep. So I'm over here at FAU. It was a poor school when I graduated 2009. And now I have some of the students here are rich, but the children are showing some vulnerability and some volatility. And we have more information and more data through the AI. And what kind of people will these kids over here at FAU be? They'll come out here with a really good education, but what kind of values will they have? So Professor Lamumba, he was one of those mad people. People got mad when President Trump took out US aid and he said they need hygiene. So they have to clean the government and politics of Africa. It's so true. That's what I'm so impressed with these 9 educated Africans, they're doctors and professors, because they're not afraid to speak. They're telling everything. They tell about the financial manipulations and abuses and everything. And I hope Africa will clean itself up because I'm helping Africa for free. So the art of subjugating and devaluing women and children. This is Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, I helped them build a kingdom hall too. So I put this in here because they tried to discourage us back in the 60s and 70s from going to college. So we would end up doing work like that. And this is the art of devaluing and subjugating and degrading a woman. This is Kanye West and his wife doing oral sex on him. It's so horrible that he's married to her and he has her dressed like a whore too all the time, sometimes almost too. And this is Khloe Kardashian. And Lamar made some really horrible, degrading comments too for the media. And so I feel like African men are demonstrating the ways of degrading, disrespecting women. And the worst part of it, in Broward County, a guy tried to frame me for a police tried to frame me grand theft auto. So he must have known that they were beating me up. They were running me into the ground. They run me out of government and run me into the ground. But when they violate your Fourth Amendment rights, they put these worms in your bed. And then these worms go up here. This is a cervix with the worms and the worm eggs. And then this bioterrorism is a white lady told me about it and said it's an African American from the military. So I wanted women to know this is how the cancer comes from the worm mastitis like that. And you have the parasites all over your body, ruining your immune system, etc. And this is a very horrible form of bioterrorism, and we have to go to the international court about this. And we have two international courts. And we can go because Donald Trump said they weaponize the court and reverse Roe versus Wade. So we have to push through. We have 194 countries. We must push through to the international court, either the ICC or ICJ. And this is both pictures together. Beginning and the end is cancer. I also warned Facebook users because we thought COVID was bad, but this is very misogynistic. It's something they do to women. So my ex-husband, he tried to be a good Christian. My son was born down here in Miami. He moved around a lot. Well, my husband went with FPL up to Delray Beach and he actually took us, which was an act of love. I had to quit my federal job and go take care of the children over in our West Point house. And we did that for a little while. And then my ex-husband was taken by Lucifer. He told me what was going on with him and Satan. And then I had to decide if I was going to be a Jehovah Witness still and if I was, and I knew I had to work and take care of myself. So after all of this moving around that he was doing to my children, and my son went into the gifted class over here in West Boynton at Hagan Ranch Elementary School. So the judge should have kept my son in his gifted class, in his school, and in his house, except that a judge didn't get a chance to, because my ex-husband is the head and he was practicing misogyny and all of this subtle kind of control behavior. So this is another way they degrade women. They actually put this in the music and the culture of African Americans, degrading women. On Saturday, March 15 at 2025, Saturday, March 15, 2025 at 6:28 a.m., a stalker woke me up, an African American male, and I warned him not to stalk me. So, an international criminal court on the United Nations Human Rights Office would need a verdict of 50 to 100 billion US. And I make these slides for this video and I get emotional and upset, but the worst part of the whole thing is the abuse of my son. We did not get to go to a judge to protect my son. So, regarding my government resume, which I sent to Congress, the Senate, and the House after they pushed me out my job with the city of Delray Beach, I had 4 government jobs and I also had a federal government job briefly. I have a good written evaluation from Delray Beach, which I can download from the website. And I've never been bullied out of any government job. And the girl obviously thinks that something coming out of the attorney's office where her sister was the office manager, and she doesn't know my personal business. But I showed you the map of the movement of my ex-husband controlling the funds. And because he was a head, but he wasn't having heads together. So I'm collecting data. The African Americans do not like people from the Caribbean because we came as students and they came as slaves, plus other cultural differences. My friends from high school in Jamaica, one has a PhD at Charity, which is Caribbean Studies. I tried to contact her, and one has a PhD in psychology, because I try to really get proof, evidence, and some affirmation of what I'm thinking. So the African Americans exhibit some of the culture of Africa. It's savage, like the Rwanda massacre, killing 1 million people in 100 days, the art of degrading women, plus outrageous government conduct in African American police gangs. And so Donald Trump fired a lot of people in Washington and fired other government officials. I contacted him at the White House and in his organization with the video, and he knows that they not only diverted funds in USAID and Social Security, but they are trying to control the food stamp funds. They getting into banking with the Nigerians, and they're also getting into municipal funds. Like the funds that were on my desk, I was trained by two attorneys for a year, and they're sitting at my desk handling those funds and getting my pay. So the African Americans are stalkers, and it's recurring. And we are Cuban fighters. I'm a Cuban fighter. My dad is a Cuban fighter. He had 6 girls, and I was one. He gave me some training in bravery from 9 years old. Africa is now forever defeated, but they are trying to have a united Africa, and I'm helping them for free. So I'm not completely vicious, intolerant person. I'm helping Africa for free. It's simple communication, working together, simple things. But it's almost irreparable than World War One and Two, the things that IMF did with the interest rate exploitation, and some Africans think they're forever defeated. And I feel that all these financial manipulations ran people, clans, and countries into the ground, and they forced kleptocracy, assassination, and genocide in Africa and problems in the Caribbean. It's very disturbing because the American courts are no longer valid, and the United States did try to block some international courts in some ways with sanctions, but the world has to be brave enough. The Africans were pushing through to the ICC, and then American courts apologized, and that was enough for them, but it shouldn't be enough. Meaning, we must communicate with international human rights attorneys, must approach international human rights organizations, we must verify filing charges in ICC and ICJ, because they will try to block these. Today I'm with the children at FAU. What kind of people will they be? What kind of value systems will they have? What will improve the values in USA? Thank you.